Welcome to yet another episode of Brand Talkies, a Kada BT show where we believe in uncovering the stories behind the brands you absolutely love. I'm your host, Tamanna Chanana, and today we have another special guest. He comes with a diverse set of experience, and I'm really excited to have him here. Kunal Mehta is his name, and he's a seasonal marketer, a passionate writer, and an avid traveler who describes himself as a collector of experiences. Doesn't that sound fancy? All right. With over 20 years of diverse experience in B2C and B2B companies, spanning across various companies like Britania, Nestle, DSM, across categories, Kunal has excelled in roles involving strategic brand management, digital marketing, campaign development, global innovations, retail operations, and PR responsibilities. Throughout his career, Kunal has demonstrated a knack for experimenting with new marketing techniques and styles, are always seeking out great marketing, advertising, or innovation stories from across the world. Currently, Kunal serves as the global head of marketing, communication, and brand at DSM Fmin's animal nutrition and health business in Switzerland. And in this role, he leads global team across various functions like brand marketing, media communication, digital marketing, and event marketing. To delve deeper into Kunal's insight on his life, leadership, growth, and marketing, you can connect with him on LinkedIn or follow him on Instagram with the name Kunal Mehta, where he shares his travels diaries as well as Metaverse reels. Welcome to the show, Kunal. It's truly a pleasure to have you here with us today.
Thank you very much, Tamanna, for having me on the show and for this wonderful introduction.
Amazing. I think there's a lot of learning that for our listeners, and I can't wait for that to begin. All right, let's
Let's.
start by having you tell us a bit about yourself and your path in the world of marketing.
Well, you already introduced to your audience my current role at DSM Fmin, as well as my previous roles with Nestle, Britannia, and Arvind brands. So let me actually dive in and tell you a bit more about where the marketing bug bit me and how it all started. Growing up in a single household television in India, at a time when cable television was still new or had not even made its entry in the Indian households, there was only one channel that everyone would watch. And as a result, there was no escape from the advertising that would come in during the commercial breaks. Now, since you could not flip channels, you were pretty much exposed to all those ads. And I got really fascinated by the storytelling in the ads, as well as the memorable jingles that were usually accompanied by these brands. It was also interesting to see the juxtaposition of a dancing little girl or the Nirma jingle just a minute after, let's say, a mythological show like Ramayana or Mahabharata with their serious scenes. And this kind of got me really intrigued. What is going on? This love for the world of communication and advertising led me to apply to MICA, which is Mudra Institute of Communications, Ahmedabad,
Yeah.
where I was exposed to 2 years to even more communication, marketing, advertising, case studies from all over the world. I just fell in love with it. And then, Tamanna, my entry into the FMCG or the CPG world with Britannia allowed me to sharpen this love even further, understand the nuances even better. And that's how the journey really began. And here I am.
Amazing. That's a roller coaster journey for sure. All right. Coming to the next, the buzzer and the fun round for our audience. All right. This is just 2 minutes round that you have to answer within a sentence or a word. All right.
Okay.
And let's make it very interesting for the audience as well.
Okay.
Which brand do you think would have the funniest personality, and how would you say that?
Okay. Well, actually, there's a brand that's coming to my mind that people don't really see as funny, but I would say Google. Google would have a really funny personality. And then I can imagine Google saying things like, I have all the answers, but I'm not modest, or don't know where to go. No problem. I've got you, bro. So I think Google could be really a funny personality.
I think Google should have incorporated this jing for sure. It's really, really fun. And as I host leaders like you, the fun ideas that I get, and I think I can even trademark all of it. Coming to the next question for you.
Okay.
Ever had a crazy marketing idea that surprisingly worked?
Yeah, there's one that's coming to my mind. Back in 2015, there was the Cricket World Cup that was taking place, and I was still in India with Nestle on kit. And one of the matches that was taking place was between India and South Africa. And we decided to have a little Twitter war between the Kit India handle and the
Mhm.
KitKat South Africa handle. We reached out to our South African counterparts, the teams there, and we agreed with them that let's maybe have a bit of fun. On the day of the match, or even a day before the match, there were tweets going out from KitKat India. There were responses, witty responses coming from Kit South Africa, and it was a bit fun. What we didn't anticipate, and it worked, was that fans jumped onto it. They started participating in the conversation. And then sites like Social Samosa and a few others that cover all these interesting marketing case studies, they
Mhm.
wrote a piece on it. So it was just a little fun that we thought we'll have, but it turned out to be a nice and interesting case study for us.
Wow, that was really fun, to be honest, and especially if your end users really engage and have that kind of fun, right? So that's where our job as marketers are done. So yeah, great example. All right, coming to the next question. Could you market a product using emoji?
Yeah, here I think, I will bring my own one of the brands that I had the honor to lead, Good Day. It's This is an instant one that comes to my mind because just the shape of the product, it reminds you of all these smiley or face emoticons, emojis. So
Yeah.
Good Day can be an easy brand that could do all its marketing using some of those fun face emojis.
Wow, that's an interesting idea. Go, it's a shout out to Britannia. Go ahead and do it.
We'll shout out to many, many brands hopefully today.
I've seen a lot of people. So in Decathlon, you usually find those surveys, right? So whenever you shop, the end thing is with the emojis. I personally really enjoy the entire experience, the way they market it to the users. But it's
Yeah.
great that different companies can indeed take that as a learning. All
Exactly.
right. Let's
Yeah.
get deeper into the topic for today. To begin
Mhm.
with today's topic, can you share a memorable experience where you had to think out of the box to solve a marketing challenge?
Just out of the box. Yeah, there's one that comes to my mind now. Back in 2010, again, Britannia Industries, but I was managing Good Day for a few years, and then I was given the responsibility to launch a product called Britannia Cookies. Now,
Okay.
this was to be launched at 5 rupees, and the idea was to penetrate some of the Hindi heartland because
Mhm.
cookies were seen as aspirational, but the existing cookie market was not seen as a daily indulgence, and we wanted to break that and change that. So that's when we decided to launch Britannia Cookies. Oh, what was interesting was obviously Britannia Cookies did not have the same budgets that a Good Day had. A new brand, you're always very
Yeah.
limited on budgets. But the proposition of the cookies was something called Tan Ko Chue. And if I were to translate it in English, it means nourishes your body. By the way, these lines were cracked by Prasoon Joshi, the famous Prasoon Joshi, right in front of me when we were brainstorming at his office in McCann. That's a story for another day, but it was really fun to see how he thinks. Yeah, but coming back to the idea, so the entire idea was built on this insight that there are times when the loved ones cannot be close to you, but they still want to take care of you. And
Mhm.
food is one of those routes to really do that.
Exactly.
We thought that Britannia cookies could play that role, right? So the idea was that every day people receive their dabbas, especially in Mumbai with the Mumbai dabawalas,
Yeah.
and they're receiving food that comes from their home. They're
Mhm.
receiving food that comes from their loved ones. So
Yeah.
we said this is a great touch point where we can sample our product and
Mhm.
also build position. So we worked with the agency. We
Mhm.
managed to get the dabawalas to agree to this, and we created these special 2 cookie packs as sampling packs that were
Mhm.
then sold out with all the 2 lakh or 200,000 dabbas on that day. And
Mhm.
this was interesting for me out of the box. And Tamanna, what I was told back then was that this was probably the first time that any brand did product sampling with Mumbai Dabbawalas. And this probably opened a revenue stream for them. So I also feel happy that if that happened.
Oh.
And yeah, this was something really different that I did in my marketing career back then.
Wow. I can imagine the amount of happiness these dabbawalas would have on their faces when people were really giving them more orders because of all of this. But it's a great initiative. See, this is something that I really feel that as a marketers, we should always give to our society as well. And
Mhm.
it be just about the business. Obviously, business comes with all these initiatives, but it's great to see that collaboration with people like them. It's really a thing, and especially for a company like Britannia. All right. Great job. All right, coming to the next question. From
Yeah.
spread initial years in India to moving on a global level, how has your perspective and approach evolved from a country specific role to making on roles to a global capacity?
Right. Yeah. So I've been now in Switzerland for 7 years. And I
Mhm.
think before I answer that question, let me maybe take you a bit back in terms of my move from India to the global level. So I was working with Nestle in the chocolates and the confectionery space in India. And then I was given the opportunity to move to the Nestle headquarters in Switzerland to
Mhm.
manage global innovations for KitKat. Now, as a brand, it was not new for me. I was managing it in India, but
Mhm.
managing it at a global level is a completely different challenge. And
Yeah.
I think there are potentially three aspects in which you have to change your approach when you move to a global level. And
Mhm.
these, are one, your approach as an Indian when you go out and start working in a global role for the first time, and
Yeah.
probably you might relate to that.
Yeah.
Second is your approach as a manager, and
Yeah.
third is your approach as a leader.
Yeah.
And maybe let's spend a few minutes on each one of them because it at least gave me a lot of lessons, so it's interesting. One of the things is that when you move to a global role, you need to realize that the hierarchical dynamics are very very different than a company in India. Of
Mhm.
course, there is great respect for seniority, but
Yeah.
there's also much more freedom to disagree and give your point of view. And sometimes when you're in India, you tend to feel that people in foreign countries in global roles are superior than you. And I've seen some of the people who had moved from India to global roles, they sort of went into their shells.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to realize that you should believe in your own talent, in your
Mhm.
own and also realize that each person sitting there in a global role is it's based on their capability and not their nationality. I think
Exactly.
that's once you put that in your mind, you can work much easily with people. So this is the aspect when it comes to an Indian moving to a global role. Now the second part is, as a manager, how do you change, when you're working in a global capacity? If we talk about my current role, I have people from 8 different nationalities with different experiences, and they sit in countries, they're not even in the same country. So it
Yeah.
becomes really important for me to take that effort to understand their cultural nuances, the
Mm.
differences that they bring in, and then provide feedback that helps them to grow. But if I don't understand the culture, I will not be able to even understand what is the feedback that I need to give to them. So I
Yeah.
think that's important. The last part is, as a leader, and this is interesting because as a leader, you have to start looking at every decision from a global lens.
Yeah.
So whether it is a decision of a market where a launch should take place or
Mm.
decision of which market to prioritize for a campaign,
Yeah.
you have to do a decision based on business sense and not based on your own personal bias or your geographical preference. This has been my observation and learning that, as you go along, move from a local or a regional role to a global role, these are the things you have to keep in mind.
Yeah, indeed. These are three valuable, I'll say, cookie points everyone should learn. And
Yeah.
especially, I could relate to each and every bit of it. Although COVID has taught us that there's a entire shift in the hybrid workplace that we are currently in, and there's a virtual connection that you can still build. The amount of ownership that increases when you move to a global role, especially outside India, the entire shift that you go through personally and professionally are two different things altogether, and you have to move together with both of them with the same synergy that, like you said. So I'm really glad you brought this pointer as well. All right, coming to the next question: how do cultural and regional differences weigh in when you have to address to so many different markets? I'd like to know more that you discussed earlier.
Yeah, I think this is quite a relevant question,
Mhm.
especially when you're building brands at a global level. Every time you're unlocking any dimension of marketing, you have to think this through all the cultural and regional differences.
Yeah.
If you're coming up with a new brand name, will
Mhm.
that be protectable and trademarked across all markets or not? Does the name sound right in all markets, or does it have any wrong connotation? What about its pronunciation? Can it be pronounced easily in all markets or not? When you're thinking of a global communication campaign, are you being representative enough of all markets? Are you being inclusive or not? Will
Mhm.
your campaign offend any culture, any community? These
Yeah.
are things you have to, always question, ask yourself, and try and address this to the best of your ability. If you're launching a new SKU, new flavor, new variant, will it work across all markets? If not all markets, where will it work? How do you allocate your sales, your budget, your spends? So I think if I were to conclude, basically whatever you do in marketing at a global role, you have to be culturally informed,
Mhm.
contextually appropriate, and
Yeah.
socially in accordance with the norms of what is acceptable by the society of each country. This is extremely important, otherwise you can go wrong. And you're always testing this with every piece of work that you're doing.
One quick question that I have for you. Do you really think once you go to a country like Switzerland or any other country, the
Mhm.
touch and flavor that you get there and then when you market it, is that totally different? Or is it something that adds on to what you were thinking about building a brand for that particular geography?
Of course, any exposure when you travel it expands your horizons. It allows you to look at things in different ways. It opens and gives you different perspectives. So I
Yeah.
think it's always helpful. It also helps you to understand culture. There's one thing to read about it or see it sitting in one country. There's a completely different thing when you go and experience it. So I
Mm.
personally believe that, and that's why, as you mentioned in my introduction, I love traveling. It's
Yeah.
not only to see new places, but also to understand the culture of different places. I believe it helps me become a better marketer, and
Mhm.
that's why I think, moving countries does help in doing better marketing.
Amazing. Thanks for that insight. All right, coming to the next question. How did
Mhm.
you find the transition from working in a B2C industry, like you mentioned about Britannia and Nestle, to becoming a B2B marketer? Was it smooth or you had encountered so many bumps along the way?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question you ask.
Yeah.
And I must confess this to you, to your audience. It was not an easy shift. In fact, for a few months I was struggling when I made this shift from B2C to B2B. I was also wondering whether I made the right move or not. I mean,
Mhm.
I moved to DSM. This
Yeah.
has been a company that was built on science. It's got a
Mhm.
number of technical experts. It's filled with PhDs all around me, scientists all around me. There was a short period of time when I was actually having imposter syndrome, oh, what did I do?
Yeah.
I finally had my aha moment when I realized that I should stop trying to compete with these people or compare myself with them on the technical knowledge, because
Mhm.
that's what I will not be able to reach, what they bring in.
Yeah.
I should just bring in my own marketing expertise, because that's why they've hired me, someone from a B2C, so that they can, change dynamics of marketing in a B2B company. This is when I started bringing a shift in my approach.
Mhm.
I start bringing in my knowledge, all my B2C experience,
Mhm.
and that's what we started doing in the marketing in the company. I then almost felt it. I started seeing success. I started gaining respect and trust from peers and colleagues, and I
Mhm.
could then really true impact of my work.
Yeah.
And this was also a moment of great realization for me, that the
Mhm.
fun of marketing do not change irrespective of the industry. Whatever category you're in, whether you're in B2C, whether you're in B2C, to know how to apply them in different scenarios. And this is often said, but it's true. At the end of the day, you're always marketing to humans, and their
Yes.
personal benefits, emotional benefits, they're
Yeah.
going to be always crucial, irrespective of what industry you're marketing to them. So I think this was my sort of learning and observation in the transition phase.
Amazing. The entire world that we are in currently, with the
Mhm.
shift of the requirements and the things that have worked, B2B has really evolved. It's not just about the events that we go to or the event marketing division or only that the email chains will go. It has really evolved. And I can really relate because when I was in HT, this is when I took a shift to Whatfix. Even for 3, 4 months, I was a bit dicey. Am I in the right company or am I justifying the role that I was hired? But trust me, as you fall into place, it's been 3 years now. There has
Mhm.
amazing shift in my mindset in terms of the way I look at these campaigns and the way I execute all of this. So from a personal marketer standpoint, I'll say it's very, very important to even shift the industries and plus
Yeah.
your perspective as well, because the knowledge and the kind of openness that you'll bring in something like a B2B company will be much, much better than what you would have done in a B2C as well. So
Yeah.
yeah, totally
Indeed.
aligned. And my personal favorite is Salesforce. The way they market themselves, it doesn't
Good.
look it's a B2B
Yeah.
CRM.
Indeed. Indeed. It's a good example.
Yeah. All
Yeah.
right. So the next question I'm gonna ask you is
Mhm.
around sustainability. So
Mhm.
this is something that I'm really interested in knowing from you as well.
Right.
Sustainability has always been a buzzword, right? While the
Mhm.
biggest of the brands are still in their nasal stages in adapting the whole concept, it
Mhm.
appears to me that DSM has made it its mission to drive sustainability at a global scale. Is it a part of your DNA, the brand's DNA? Could you throw some light how the brand
Mhm.
is bringing the change and trying to make the world a better place than just focusing on the business?
Yeah, I really like this question, and the reason I say that is because when I was moving from Nestle to DSM, one of the
Mm,
things that attracted me to DSM was the fact that they had a strong purpose as
mm,
well as sustainability in their DNA.
yeah.
In fact, back then when I was joining DSM, the former CEO of DSM, Faike Sebesma, he had
Mm,
started talking about sustainability almost 10, 15 years back when no one would even consider it as an important topic. He would always say that doing good and
mhm,
doing can go hand in hand. And
yeah.
that means, profitability as well as care for the planet, they can
Mm,
go hand in hand. And they do
yeah.
not have to be separate things. And the fact about how serious we are about sustainability is established in the fact that DSM as a company is
Mm,
more than 100 years old, which actually started as a Dutch mining company. But over the years, we've evolved so much that today we are a nutrition, a health, and bioscience company. And sustainability is so important to us that we don't even shy away move away from businesses that do not fit our philosophy. So that's how DSM kind of thinks.
mm,
Last year, actually, DSM and Firmenich, two different companies, merged and became DSM Firmenich. And
mm,
both the companies not only bring more than 100 years of experience from their end each, but both have sustainability as a very strong common. And today, sustainability is considered as a very important element, at least in DSM Firmenich business. We
mm,
just do not make big and bold commitments like all the other companies. We actually drive change. We report change. We
mhm,
report our and progress in every quarterly and annual report so
mm.
that every customer, but also every employee knows about what is the progress that we're making on sustainability as well as ESG metrics. So that's really how serious sustainability is for us. So it's not just one tick in the box.
That's an amazing go. In fact, I was really surprised the ad that Apple recently launched after their 15 plus launch. And I was like, what exactly are they trying to do? Mother Nature in the entire film. And then I really realized the entire concept that it's very important to take care of the planet as well, because you have taken a lot from the planet. It's always important to give it back. And I'm glad that you are working with a brand which actually believes in the similar concept.
Yeah, and I think Apple's ad is a great example, because they could continue just advertising their products, but they chose to make this beautiful film. It was really well done. They explain all the metrics really nicely, and having Tim Cook in the ad just shows
Yeah.
that how important the message is for them.
Yeah, exactly. And the diversity in the team in the
Yeah.
entire advertising was really amazing. Yeah. Hats off to the advertising team at Apple.
Yeah.
All right. Since we have spoken a lot about different brands and the cultural shifts, let's talk about the mistakes that a lot of companies do. What
Mhm.
common mistakes you have seen many companies making in their marketing efforts? What common pitfalls should they avoid? Any marketing advice from you?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, each company has their own approach,
Yeah.
and there are marketers there. So it is just my observation. Who am I to tell them what they need to do? But generally, I think there are three mistakes that I see a lot of companies make, which can be avoided.
Yeah.
One of the mistakes is that they try to reach and target anyone and everyone without sharpening their target audience.
Yeah.
To me, that's the brand look confused, and actually it results in wastage of money because you're neither here nor there. So I think that's one mistake that potentially brands could avoid. The second thing is that I see brands being extremely inconsistent. A lot of brands will take a certain look and feel, certain positioning, maybe a choice of color for a short period of time, and then suddenly change it completely without any context, without any link to what they've done. They do not spend enough money in creating these consistent brand properties. And actually go back into history, all the big, strong global brands have been built on the foundation of brand consistency and strong brand properties. I mean, you take Coca-Cola's signature, you take its red color, you take the special design bottle, you
Yeah.
take Nike swoosh and the line just do it. Or even a brand Kit Kat that I managed, the line have a break, have a kit.
Yeah.
These, you cannot change that line. It's been there for more than 60, 70 years. And these are examples of brands that have been consistent in building their brand property. So I think brand consistency, brands that don't follow that, that's a mistake they make. And I think one of my sort of pet peeves or mistake is that nowadays I see every brand trying to do a social post on every occasion just to be a part of moment marketing. I
Yeah.
mean, sometimes there is no relevance of that occasion for that product, for that brand. There is no connection.
Yeah.
It just seems force fit. And
Yeah.
so basically, you've spent time, money in creating a post which is
Mhm.
going to do nothing for brand building, which is
Yeah.
not going to do nothing for sales. It will just make you as a marketer feel happy for a day, but it's a mistake.
I totally agree. All right. I have a follow-up question since you spoke about social media strategy. What makes a good social media strategy and what could be bought in the place in the current moment marketing, like you said?
Yeah, a lot of times people say social media strategy, digital strategy, and all of that. To me, I think a good social media strategy is actually one that is integrated into the larger, full omni-channel strategy of
Yeah.
marketing and should be aligned to the vision and goals of the organization. Very clear. A good social media strategy always starts with business and customer first. No two ways about it. And
Yeah.
then you start breaking it down into executional tactics, be it in
Mhm.
terms of channel selection, content strategy, tone of voice. So that comes as the secondary thing. I think what's important is that you need to do content audit. This should be part of your social strategy because it helps in figuring out relevant keywords, right tools, analysis and
Mhm.
actions. Personally, I believe, and we follow that in our team, a solid forward-looking plan includes a content calendar with
Mhm.
clear buckets as well as clear content formats, because these
Mhm.
are elements to ensure consistency. I think people working on the social media side should have complete clarity on the decisions, on the budgets,
Yeah.
on platforms, on calendars and KPIs. They should not be wondering this on a daily basis. Yeah, and I think this is largely how you can ensure that your social media strategy is very much aligned. I also often hear these days split between performance marketing and brand marketing. I come from a school of thought that every marketer has to drive growth, every marketer has to deliver performance, every marketer has to do brand building. So
Mhm.
yes, you do the split, but in reality, every marketer has playing a role in building the brand and driving performance.
Yeah, I totally agree to that point. This is something that I've realized a lot of brands are diversifying different roles in different
Mhm.
marketers, but they are not understanding that it's for building a brand. Different teams work in silos, especially the customer marketing partners, your performance, your brand, your growth. All of them will work in silos and no one has a clue that what's happening in which team. So
And,
yeah,
and that's why the omni-channel approach is so important because they have to talk to each other. They need to be aligned on the same vision. And then you can have different people leading different parts. But if they don't, talk the same language,
yeah.
it's a wasted effort.
Exactly. Great insight, to be honest. All right. Before we go, what strategies do you believe B2B marketers should adopt to maintain a competitive edge and remain aligned with the industry trends? And how do you stay ahead of the curve in ever evolving digital marketing landscape?
It's a big question. Yeah, two questions in a way. I think B2B marketers should realize that, first of all, it is important to bring emotions even in B2B marketing, just like in B2C marketing. Often I see really boring, pushy, feature oriented marketing and communication. And for some reason, B2B marketers think that we have to just come across like that.
Yeah.
But that doesn't always resonate anymore with people.
Yeah.
And B2B marketers need to realize it is okay to bring in a bit of fun, a bit of humor, a bit of drama in the work, in the craft. It doesn't always have to be serious.
Yeah.
But what B2B marketers also need to, and I'm sure all B2B marketers know this, that
Mhm.
the purchase cycle for a B2B marketing is so much more longer than a B2C world, and therefore the outcome and the result takes time. And also the target audience is so much more diverse, because when you're doing B2B marketing, it's not one profile, one persona. Unlike, when I was on the CPG side, you could just, it's a chocolate consumer or a biscuit consumer, you could just target them. And therefore there is a need for B2B marketers to be sharp enough in targeting their messages to the different audiences, even while they're doing the same campaign. So I think this is important. I often also see that B2B marketers tend to get trapped in this direct attribution model, trying to figure out what led to the sale. If the purchase cycle is longer, then we need to realize that people take long to make their decisions, and you
Yeah.
cannot always do a direct attribution to just your last campaign for a purchase decision. It's a build up. It takes time. Maybe they saw your first ad 6 months back, they met your salesperson 2 months back, they saw your second social media post, and then the decision happens. So you cannot attribute it directly to the last mile. I think that's important, and this is the way B2B marketers can really stay ahead. The second part of your question, I think it's an interesting one, because look, the digital landscape is evolving, will continue to evolve. But the way I see it is that it's just one more lever for marketing. Technology, platforms, channels, they will keep evolving. And in fact, they will be evolving much faster. Think about it. Today, everyone is talking about AI, and everyone wants to have a foot in the AI world. But few years back, I can tell you that people were talking about augmented reality, virtual reality, which has slowly died down, and now people are talking about AI. The point is that these things will come, and of course, you need to have a point of view. You need to dabble in it. You need to know what you want to do, what you don't want to do.
Yeah.
But honestly, Tamanna, I think at the end of the day, what doesn't change are the fundamentals of marketing.
Yeah.
Whatever happens. And what do I mean by that? You need to know your customers deeply. There's no two ways about it. You
Yeah.
need to have a clear and strong value proposition for your brand. You need to be able to build both functional and emotional benefits.
Yeah.
You need to have a strong strategy and even stronger execution element, because
Yeah.
other strategy without execution is pointless. And of course, you need to constantly monitor, measure, analyze. And I personally believe that marketers who continue to embrace these principles and these fundamentals, they will get to thrive themselves and their brand, irrespective of how the digital landscape evolves. Of course, you need to read a lot, you need to be aware, but as long as fundamentals are strong, I
Yeah.
think it's all.
Great insight for everyone,
Thank you.
especially in for anyone who's in the marketing space. Because at times we forget those fundamentals that we were taught in our B schools, and we just follow the same legacy the brand has been, and we never bring that kind of innovation and that flavor for the humans. But I believe this will really help a lot of people who are listening to the show and understand that there's a diverse set of things that you have to keep in mind considering your fundamentals. Like even when we were as kids, especially in India, we are taught that there are certain values that you have to follow for your family, and we keep on growing, and the same legacy we pass it on to our kids as well. So yeah, considering that, I think that's the similar example that we can consider for our professional worlds as well. But yeah. Great. Thank you so much, Kunal. This was indeed an amazing episode. As we wrap up, I would like to thank Kunal for sharing his wealth of knowledge and expertise with us. Your insights into navigating the intricate world of marketing, from vitalizing iconic brands to staying ahead of the curve, have been truly, truly enlightening. Listeners, I hope you have gained valuable insights and inspiration from Kunal's journey. And advice were definitely up to the mark. Being a marketer, I can say that. Remember to connect with him on LinkedIn or Instagram to continue learning from his expertise. Thank you again, Kunal. Stay tuned for more captivating brand conversations on The BT Show as we evolve the changing world of marketing. And remember, you can catch The BT Show on your favorite audio platforms, whether Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcast, or Amazon Music. We are also on YouTube, so go hit a subscribe button. Until next time, embrace creativity, innovation, and cutting edge of marketing. The future beholds to those who shape it. From all of us at Brand Talkies, stay inspired. Sayonara.